What is this? How? Answers? How? 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 I've received some top secret information of an up-and-coming movie opener, and I have some serious questions. So I thought it would be best hearing from one of the creators. Cue the drum roll. Emijola Oyadiran! She is one of the creators of Along the Way.
Yes, my name is Emijola Oyadiran, and today I will be reporting on this film project. My candidate number is 8057.
Before we begin, can you tell us a little bit more about your project?
Along the Way is a drama film about a group of girls featuring Jazara, Reina, Emijola, and Nok. It explores themes of friendship and grief. The girls each find different ways to cope as the bonds between the girls grow weak and they drift apart, shaken by the tragic loss they have all suffered.
Seems interesting. Now that I have introduced you, let's get straight to it. The first question I have is, how does your film project Along the Way use or challenge conventions and represent social groups or issues? Since that question is pretty long, let's cut it into two parts. Part one of the question is, how does your film project Along the Way use or challenge conventions?
The film project, as we said, is a part of the drama genre. As such, it has met many of the conventions of a typical dramatic film.
Really? Elaborate.
You see, in the film, there was a girl and a friend group who was dying. The girls were all a witness to her death and reacted in different ways. We can see this representation of the typical trope of a drama film that was utilized in our film. The 5 stages of grief. From anger, depression, denial, bargaining, and acceptance, each character is on a journey of healing and figuring out how to exist in a world without their friend. This is expressed in our film through Reina's pretend happiness, Emijola's clear sadness, and Nok's attempt to piece them all back together. In that same breath, this film is a subversion of this trope. Many of grief's dramas will show one person as they grieve, while this film has many different people to represent how the stages interact with each other. Also, in drama films like this, after experiencing a tragedy like the death of a friend, the girls would be expected to come together and be closer, rather than drift farther away. That can be seen in this film.
Wow, tell me more.
Going back to the film meeting standard conventions, things like the name of the film were thought out carefully to align with a typical movie drama. You see, the name Along the Way is meant to be sort of a play on words of the saying, the friends you meet along the way, which is a theme that is used in many drama films.
Super interesting. We can now move on to part 2 of the question. How does the film represent social groups or issues?
The film we made represents a couple of different social groups and issues. As far as the cast went, it was very diverse. When it comes to race and ethnicity, all the characters are what is known as POC, people of color, with the film featuring characters who are Vietnamese American, Jamaican American, Haitian and Nigerian American, and Chinese American. Usually, stories like this about grief won't have this kind of diversity, depicting characters like our own from a different perspective. So while the race of each character was merely a reflection of our own, it still highlights the reality of diverse friendships in society nowadays. Also, the main characters in the film are all girls. This diverse group of girls was used to shape a narrative that, while typically underrepresented in the media, their stories are just as important. In the film, the story focuses on societal pressures these young women face as they are grieving their friend, like how Reina is succumbing to her fear of accepting her grief by behaving as she did before the death. She is a mask of uncaring happiness as she appears to have handled the death of her friend well. Nock behaves similarly as she's representative of a typical trait that women are supposed to take care of others before taking care of themselves. Emijola is kind of the opposite of them. She is sort of what is known as the lone wolf of the three girls. She distances herself from the group, behaving withdrawn and distraught. This character, whom I play, is Black, providing representation for the girls, specifically Black girls in the world, that are told they aren't allowed to show emotion or be perceived as weak.
Fascinating. Please, go on.
Simultaneously, the film brings awareness to the topic of mental illness like depression. Some of the girls are struggling with the tragedy. Their struggle is more outward, while some of the girls' struggles are more internal. This was done intentionally so that the film highlights the depression and hurt aren't always visible or easy to tell. Sometimes it's the quiet ones that are the most effective.
Thank you for your response. This brings me to question number 2. How does your project engage with audience, and how would it be distributed as a real media text? I'll break it down into 2 parts, just like the last question. Starting with, how does your project get the audience's attention? What will make people like me stay? Watch the entire movie and say, wow, that was a good movie.
There are many ways throughout the film opener that the audience attention was grabbed. One of these ways is the scenery and location that was used. The establishing shot of the film is a wide shot at the beach. A soft atmosphere is created through the warm lighting of the sunset, contrasting the girl's solemn expression to the environment to get the audience engaged. To add to that, another way the film got the audience's attention was the scene of the friend dying. It was a scene that will make the audience say, wow, as it draws the audience in with it being an passion-filled moment that's fast-pacing from it being a montage will also keep the audience's attention. Other factors like the tension between the girls after the death of their friend create a sense of unfinished business that will make people want to stay and watch the film to see how it will turn out between the girls.
Well, that's an incredible answer. So moving on to part 2 of question 2, how will you get it out to the movie theaters? How will it be produced? How will it be distributed and marketed?
I have put some thought into this actually, and I think that given the film that my group and I made is independently produced, there's a couple ways that this film could become a bigger project. I would first like to pitch the idea for this film to larger corporations like A24. Production companies like this are known for their dramatic movies, and if they're interested in the pitch, I believe they would be able to remake the idea of the film opener into an actual movie. With a good production company comes good directors and design specialists that will be able to guide the film in a similar direction as the opener. Of course, I want to be a part of the process of creating the movie, as far as casting and production design goes, so that the movie will keep the essence of the film opener as much as possible. By producing a movie like this in a big studio, it would allow the movie not only to be seen in movie theaters around the country, but also use the hype it will receive to market the movie. Certain production companies have a reputation for creating well-known and well-liked films, so people will be excited to see what new movie they're making and will be encouraged to watch the film. Also, I'll be using engaging music artists with a similar aesthetic to the film to promote the movie, like for example, Olivia Rodrigo or Billie Eilish. This will help bring in audiences like teenagers and people who enjoy watching dramatic coming-of-age movies.
Well, that's intriguing. Now, on to the next question. Question number 3. How did your production skills develop throughout this project? I mean, how did you grow? What were the things that you liked, disliked? What careers do you know now that you didn't know before? What's your journey as a filmmaker? Please, we want to know.
Let's bring it back to the beginning. From the start of this project, brainstorming ideas to completing the entire thing, I have learned a lot about creating a film. My skills have grown tremendously. Before, I had absolutely no knowledge of what it takes to create a film. I was unaware of shot size, camera angle, camera movement, transitions, and how all these things play into the film that is being made. I have since been able to apply what I've learned while creating this project. For example, while editing, I had to figure out how I was supposed to download music and import it into an editing software. I learned that in order to do so, I had to screen record a video of the sound that we wanted to use on YouTube, and then extract the sound and plug it into the video. However, one thing I disliked about sound mixing was adjusting the music to fit the timeline. I've learned how to do this, but it was a very tedious process, often having to edit in frames per second, so the sounds would cut in time for the next sound to start. It was one of the longer aspects of editing and has since led me to the conclusion that even though I had not been considering it before, it's safe to say that I will cross off being a sound mixer from my list of future careers. As far as editing goes, I've learned and utilized different effects to change the appearance of certain clips in the film opener, like for example, the flashback scene. Before even importing this clip into the editing software, I changed things like the saturation, brightness, warmth, and color of the film so that it appears like it was set in the past. This is one of the things about editing that I liked. It had been not only easy to adjust these filters, but had been interesting to see the difference in the atmosphere of the clip.
An amazing answer. That brings us to our last and final question of the night. Now, how did you bring in online technology, software, and hardware into this project?
While creating this project, I used different technologies in many ways. It's because of the amount of technology nowadays that the editing process went as well as it did, with little to no big issues. The editing software we used was an application that can be downloaded on one's phone called CapCut. All that had to be done to import the clips was press a button, allowing for multiple clips to be uploaded at the same time, so the clips wouldn't be added in later and disrupt what had already been edited. Also, built into the app was a wide array of transitions, sound effects, video effects, and filters. These features were utilized frequently as the accessibility of this editing app made them easy to use and to add to the video. Like for example, the last clip in the film opener used a video effect from the software. It had been a last-minute decision, but it required little effort and added to the atmosphere of the scene. Another technology that I used while making this project is a Google-associated app called Blogger.com. Since I started this AICE Media class, this website has been a tool that I've used to keep track of and document my journey to completing this project. I have spent hours of my days these past few months blogging and talking about my process, from learning the very basics about filmmaking, like what type of shot size, camera angle, and movement that is used in film to create a specific reaction from the audience, to being able to test and apply what I have learned in later blogs. Okay. All right, everybody, that was my creative critical reflection. Have a good one.